Welcome to Close Up Radio, where our hosts, Doug Llewellyn and Jim Masters, bring you the amazing stories of people who answered the call to unlock their potential and taken control of their own success with authenticity, creativity, persistence, and resilience. Close Up Radio special guests share their knowledge and wisdom so you, the listener, can live the most empowered life possible. Close Up Radio. And now, here's today's host, Jim Masters.
We thank you very much for joining us, everybody. We're live here at Close Up Radio, which is a service of the award-winning Close Up Television and Radio, 2 p.m. Eastern here at the Broadcast Center, March 8th, 2022. We hope you're having a fantastic day. Thanks for joining us from all around the world. We've got a very special guest joining us from Mount Hope, Ontario, Canada, Leanne Giavedoni. She's an excellent health and wellness coach and owner of Unreleased Essentials, and the author of Fear Unraveled. Through her coaching practice, Leanne's unwavering commitment, insight, and holistic approach for helping and supporting individuals to unleash abundance, experience transformation, and also lead their best lives, making incredible waves, too. She also refers to it as a balanced life, where we'll literally tap into the true purpose and authentic joy. Leanne's own path of personal development started over 20 years ago prior to opening Unreleased Essentials. As a physiotherapist, Leanne underwent her own struggle physically and mentally. Even with her clinic, where she had access to holistic modalities, she wasn't feeling any better. When her doctor prescribed antidepressants, Leanne knew she had to focus on the conscious creation of her own life by looking within, and realized she lacked self-love and the right mindset. So she began accessing clarity and thinking abundantly. Today, she's helped thousands of clients stuck and struggling by getting to the root cause and following her tried and true methods. Leanne's unique, powerfully effective program is called the Abundant Life Method, where she offers 2 ways to serve people. One is through her wonderful book, Fear Unraveled, and through her 2 distinctively effective coaching programs, Ignite Your Intuition Group and Abundance Accelerator. She says she does this work for selfish reasons because she hopes for a better world. And by her helping to take care of you and helping you to take care of you and showing how you can take care of you, then you will be contributing to a better world as well. It's really a pay-it-forward process. And it's a pleasure to have Leanne here on the show, live and direct from Canada. Leanne, thank you very much for joining us here on Close Up Radio. It's a pleasure to have you, and welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Jim. I'm so pleased to be speaking with you today, especially because it's International Women's Day. And I'm honored, and I hope that our talk will inspire women and give them hope that they really can have what they need and want in life.
It's a perfect day, absolutely, to have our conversation, and thank you for those kind words. I'd like to explore with the guests a little bit about their background and sort of their inspired journey and their life's journey. What are some of those things for you, Leanne, that pointed you in the direction of doing this work that you do and do so well? Can you share with us maybe what led you to go into this work, and was there a few things that particularly inspired you along the way?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because I wouldn't say it was inspiration. I feel like it was survival. I was one of those people that worked really hard and try to achieve all those things in life that you desire. And yet I should have had the happiness and the health, but I didn't. I had a lot of struggles. I had a lot of problems to the point where my body just started to break down, and ultimately my doctor, kept saying it was stress, I had all sorts of pain in my shoulder. I had irritable bowel symptoms, PMS, allergies, food intolerances, all these things going on. And as a healthcare provider, I couldn't even heal myself. And my doctor finally said that I was depressed and I was burnt out. And his solution was to give me antidepressants. But I worked as a physiotherapist, and we're considered drugless practitioners. So we always look for ways to heal the body using modalities and exercise and different things. So I was determined that I wanted to find another way, and that set me on this path where I just learned so much about the body-mind-spirit connection, and I was able to face some of the traumas that I had in my early years that were actually the root of what was going on, and through that was able to heal my life.
It's amazing. It's an amazing story, and it's a beautiful story, and I'm glad that everything went in that positive turn direction for you. Let's talk a little bit about the amazing work you do as a health and wellness coach and how it is different from a life coach.
Yeah, that's a good question because there's so many different types of coaches and a lot of times things overlap. But as a health and wellness coach, I really look at a body-mind-spirit connection to create both physical and emotional well-being. So I don't really talk about diet or exercise. I'm speaking more about the mindsets and the beliefs that are the barriers to people's ability to create health. And it was a really nice transition from a physiotherapist to a health and wellness coach. And that transition happened over the course of about 15 years. And it was inspired by my own physical ailments, that shoulder pain in particular, that one day I was working with someone and I discovered that the shoulder pain was connected to an emotional trauma, and it healed after that moment. And so that changed the way that I saw health and wellness. And from that moment on, I just changed the way I started to work. And so over time, I left physiotherapy and worked more as a coach. It's similar and different to a life coach because people would come to me with the priority of both physical and emotional well-being. But emotional well-being is so connected to stressors like relationships and finances, and then that starts to show up in the body. So I have to deal with those things as well, even though people come for emotional and physical well-being. And so that's the overlap. I probably am referred to as a life coach as well by my clients. But what's the most important thing is that they're just open to a mind-body-spirit approach and a way to feel their healthiest, happiest self.
That's fantastic, and that really is the bottom line. You know, you talk a lot about what it means to live abundantly. Define that for us if you can, Leanne.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because that word abundance kept resonating with me even though I was a health and wellness coach. So it kind of felt weird because naturally abundance is often associated with money. But for me, abundance simply means that you have enough. And you're the only one that can determine and define what enough is for you. So I also take my definition a step further, and I look at abundance and wellness as interchangeable. So for me, wellness means that you have what you need in all the areas of your life. So I focus on 5 pillars: health, relationships, money, self-love, and intuition. And so when you can feel that all 5 of those pillars are as you need and want them, then I believe that you're living abundantly.
That's fantastic. You know, why is it significant to get to the root cause of problems? I know we have talked a lot, over the years where there is this understanding of people are treated sometimes, and what is treated are the symptoms. And that sort of numbs, for the moment, the symptoms, but doesn't really get to the root cause of whatever the problem is that's causing the various symptoms. It is significant, isn't it, to get to that root cause of our problems in our life. Otherwise, we'll just keep masking the symptoms with various things that we do.
Yeah, for sure. I love the analogy of gardening. I use a lot of gardening analogies in my work because most people can relate to it. Even if you're not a gardener, you can visualize it. And so we all know that unless you pluck a weed from its root, it just keeps coming back. And if you leave it unchecked, then it can overtake the garden. And so that's what we're doing when we talk about getting to the root cause, right? And early on in my career as in the health industry, the root cause meant something different to me than it means today. So the root cause could mean something physical. So, I have pain in my body, and as a physiotherapist, I would sometimes have to help people to see what the physical root cause of the pain was. They thought it was because they were, doing something, but they were really using the wrong ergonomics, and that's what was causing it, their posture. But then as I started to move more into the work that I do now, I started to realize that the root cause, if you follow it down far enough, it always is going to come down to your mindset and what you think, but more importantly, what you believe. So we're like computers. Our mind is like a computer, and we have these programs that run, and they produce these outcomes that follow certain patterns, just like our programs do in our computers. And we have feelings and thoughts about these things, right? And more importantly, those are beliefs, and it's those beliefs that continue to run and create the experiences that we're having and the way that we feel about those experiences. And so in my work, I help people get to that root cause, get to what is really going on in the belief systems that are what is manifesting in the experiences that we're having. And that's in our physical reality, that's in our relationships, that's in every aspect of our life. This is the way that it works when you understand how the mind works.
Yeah, absolutely. Self-love is something, and self-care is something that is incredibly important in all of this. Can you tell us what is self-care, what is self-love, and what are the differences between them, Leanne?
Yeah, I love this question because there really is a difference between self-love and self-care. And so earlier when I talked about the definition of abundance, it's having enough. Well, similarly, self-love is when you believe that you are enough. And what I noticed is every time I was helping clients get to their belief patterns, those programs that keep running that are the root cause, I would see that they felt undeserving, unworthy, not good enough. On some level, it was always there. And you might even be looking at someone who should have, looked like they had it all and who should have been confident, but when you got down to the nitty-gritty, there was still this lack of love for themselves, this feeling that they're not good enough, like that strong inner critic, right? We all have that voice that echoes things that we've heard from others even, right? You're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not funny enough, you're not privileged enough, right? All of these negative things that we compare that are just so ridiculous. But then they're equivalent to shame. When you don't feel good enough, that's like feeling shame, and shame is the lowest energy. It's the lowest vibrating energy and the highest degree of fear. And so for me, self-love is critical. Now, it's different than self-care because self-care are the actions that you take to support yourself, yes, but they don't necessarily address that inner critic. If you're getting a massage, you're not necessarily dealing with the inner critic, even though massage is a great self-care activity to be taking. The hope is that the more you do self-care, then maybe you'll start to feel more worthy and better about yourself and more deserving. But it's not guaranteed, and it can take a really, really long time. And so I prefer to get to it much faster by delving right into the self-love pillar with my clients and get to those old damaging programs that are running in your mind that need to be weeded out. And so I always prefer to select self-care activities that get into looking within and at those beliefs. And, of course, I advocate for self-care activities. And the beautiful thing is the more self-love you have, you'll naturally just do good things that are caring for yourself and your body, naturally anyways.
That is fantastic. Beautifully said and outlined the differences and the importance of them. It's also very important to have the right mindset as well with all of this. Tell us about that, Leanne.
Mindset's everything, at least in my world. Like my clients and I, we talk about the mindset all the time, and I already referenced the fact that for me, mindset is about what you believe. So what you think, what you feel, and importantly, what you believe. And the reason this is so important is because if you understand the way the brain works, right, there's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, and that's what controls how we perceive the experiences that we have. So if you want a different experience, you have to actually change the mindset, which is that filter of that reticular activating system. And so a lot of people don't even realize that this is how it works, right? And so whatever your reticular activating system is set to, that is what you're going to experience. And mine was set to struggle and lack and, not feeling good enough for 3/4 of my life. And it wasn't until I learned all of this and I changed it to an abundant mindset that my own life was healed. My physical health, my emotional health, my relationships with others, and my relationship with money. And so it started changing when I changed my mindset towards one of self-love, abundance, ease, grace, positive expectations, and then the rest of the pillars all followed suit.
It's beautiful when they do, too. It all sort of, like all the moons line up in some certain way. Why is it important for people struggling to reach out for coaching? I've always said one of the greatest investments that you can make in life is in yourself. And so it's important to reach out, and it's not a sign of weakness or vulnerability if you're reaching out for help. Some people look at it that way, but it really is important to reach out when people are struggling, reach out for coaching, right?
Oh, absolutely. I always say it takes a strong person to ask for help and to get help. But here's the thing. When you have a lack mindset, right, you're going to make a lot of excuses for why you can't do things, including getting help. And it makes sense because if you don't love yourself, you don't feel deserving of better, right? And you also have an expectation that things are going to be hard and a struggle. And so it makes sense that when we need it the most, we have the most resistance to it. So, stories about time will come up, stories about money will exist, and you can even convince yourself that you don't need the help or that you're just fine, right? So, and I work with people on both extremes. I work with people who are struggling so hard that you're in a rut and it's hard to get out of it, and so they won't seek help. But then also there's people who are content, and that might sound weird, but content isn't bad, but you're not living your fullest if you're in a space of content. And so a lot of times, sadly, people need to be really hit by a 2x4, I say, right? That's what happened to me when I was finally diagnosed with depression. It's like I had no choice but to do something about my life. And so oftentimes we wait until it's so bad that, it's harder, more expensive, and then we've wasted so many years living in discontent and unhappiness. But you know what, Jim, I created the book Fear Unraveled, and that's a very inexpensive way for someone to start the coaching journey. And I laugh because even with that, there are people who won't even do that, right? And if they do, a lot of times they buy a book and they leave it on the shelf collecting dust. And so it's not uncommon for people to struggle with the idea of getting help, but absolutely it's important because we're here to live to our fullest potential. And we all affect one another, right? And so the more we're living in fear and lack, then the more negativity we're casting out into the world. And so if you want a brighter world, it actually starts with you. And so that's why I think it's so important for people to get help.
Absolutely. The Abundant Life Method. That sounds really fascinating, Leanne. Tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, so the Abundant Life Method was something that I ended up kind of calling everything that I work with clients, so all the pieces of the puzzle that I put together. So it's really the exact steps to bringing, the health of those 5 pillars that I mentioned into balance. It incorporates the 7 spiritual laws of abundance, as well as some other universal spiritual laws. And I have a background in motivation and behavioral change psychology, so it incorporates that as well. And it's geared to teach you exactly how to transform your thinking so that you can manifest the abundant life that you desire, but that I actually believe everybody deserves. And it's going to look at your definition of abundance and then weed out those beliefs that you have that are blocking your desires. You're going to come away understanding who you are, what you want, and the steps on how to bring that about in your own life, giving you clarity and confidence and bring an end to overwhelm, because I just noticed some people are overwhelmed and confused and sometimes not even clear on what you actually want for yourself in life, let alone what steps to take to get there. And so it basically takes all of the best self-help and transformational tools, and I put them all together in one system to make it easy to apply them in your daily life. And really it's about a way of being. So it becomes like a lifestyle. It's a way of being.
That's fantastic. The other thing, too, that you do have available for people as a wonderful resource is your book, Fear Unraveled. I love the name, too. What inspired you to decide to write it? And tell us about the book, and congratulations on it.
Thank you. Well, interestingly, I wrote it before the pandemic. I put it out the year before the pandemic. And little did I know that our world would be just, caught up in the greatest fear that we probably as a nation have undergone in my lifetime anyways. But the coaching guide, it's a coaching guide, and it's a great first step for people to start to work with some of these mindset shifts and some of these different ways of approaching health and wellness. And it highlights all of my favorite transformational tools, right? And I lay them out in a step-by-step guide. They're done in an order that works with your mind, and it unravels the fear that's getting in the way. All limiting beliefs, by the way, I call all limiting beliefs fear. So fear is a sort of a umbrella of a bunch of different emotions that we have that are all impeding us from living that happy, healthy, joyful, peaceful life. And so, I wrote the book because I noticed my coaching clients needed me to repeat some of the foundational knowledge, some of the basic things that I was repeating at each coaching session. Sometimes in one day, if I coached 5 people, I literally would say the exact same thing to all 5 of those people. And so I thought it would be a good idea to put it down in a guide so that they could work through much of the fear without having to spend as much time and therefore money with me during my private sessions. So then when we're together in the private sessions, we can really get deep down into some of the work that you need the extra help with. But there's a lot of it that just having that guide with you every day that you can use as a resource, it just makes it so much easier and more empowering to get there faster. Which,
again, is the bottom line. Yeah, I mean, it's It's very important. You know, again, it's uniquely powerfully effective. The abundant life method, which you just talked about moments ago too, and the book Fear Unraveled, and through these two distinctively effective coaching programs and Ignite Your Intuition group and Abundance Accelerator, you're able to really provide a full gamut of wonderful work for people to sort of sink their teeth into, to help them along. You've thought of a lot of different things, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, and they're designed to meet you where you're at. And so not everybody's ready to work with a coach one-on-one, right? And some people need to go at a slower pace. Some people need to go, at a faster pace. Some people have different, access to time and money. And so I remember what it was like myself when I was going through the process of healing. And so I just wanted to always make sure that I have something for everyone and something at every level. So I offer a lot of free things, and I offer, high-ticket things. Like, obviously to be coached with me is going to be a higher price than to get the book and some of the free coaching that I do in a private Facebook group associated with the book. But I really do pride myself on really wanting to have something for everybody.
Which is fantastic. Are most people living an abundant life today, would you say, Leanne?
Jim, that's a really tough question because, as a nation, like we all know, we're just trying to recover from a crazy couple of years, and now we're at a war as well. And so it might appear that people aren't living an abundant life. And in some cases, people might even feel shame about thinking about wanting to live an abundant life. But I believe that if you're in a position to do it, then you need to, because I learned the hard way, right, trying to serve from a cup empty, burning myself out so that I was almost not even here for my children that I committed to be a parent to. And so I believe that you don't have to not be living an abundant life, and that if you're in a position that you can, work with the tools and get the help to increase and improve your life, then I think that's part of our, we have to do that, because then it gives us more to give back. But I do have an easy tool that I use with people, because truthfully, when people are working with me, they're not yet living abundantly. They're struggling, and that's why they're coming to me. But by the end of working with me, we see that they are actually living abundantly. And so I have a little tool that I can use and share with the listeners if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah, we have, say, about 60 seconds left to the show.
Okay. It's really simple. You just look at those 5 pillars that I mentioned, and you rate them out of 1 to 10. 1 being not at all, and 10 being completely happy. And so if you rate your relationship pillar, your health pillar, your money or finance pillar, your self-love, and your intuition, and you get a number out of 10, then just add those up, double it, and that's your abundance score. And I noticed that the people who are between 65 and 90%, they're excellent candidates to work with me as a coach. And if they're between 40 and 64, that would be more work with my book and join my free coaching group. And if you're below 40, then that's when I would actually recommend that you probably need to work with more of a professional, like a therapist of that sort. So that's an easy way to measure your own level of abundance.
Folks want to learn more, they can go to the website, www.leannegiavedoni.com. That's LeanneGiavedoni.com. Leanne, this was really fantastic, very inspiring and empowering, and I thank you very much for spending all this time sharing all of your technique and your passion for your work on Close Up Radio, and hopefully we'll get a chance to explore some more, and hopefully you enjoyed the time as much as I certainly have.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Jim.
You're very welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for being with us. And thank you for being with us as well. Jim Masters, your host here on Close Up Radio. Stay tuned. We'll be back momentarily with another fascinating guest from around the world on the program. Till then, have a terrific day, and bye for now.
You have been listening to a broadcast from Close Up Radio, a division of Close Up Television Incorporated. For more information about our show and to be considered for future broadcasts, please visit closeuptelevision.com. You may also learn about us on social media and listen to us on podcast and internet radio. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you have an empowered and productive day.